Hello, I'm Doris Summer, and I'm pleased to invite you to Renaissance Now. We need you. Like the Italian Renaissance, this one emerges after a plague and finds a world in shambles, ready for intellectuals to leave their cloisters and for princes to listen to poets. On the website, you'll find that you're already announced in the section You Are Here. But as creative bureaucrats, you're also welcome to the certificate Arts and Policy. To see why it's your best resource for good government, let's try a thought experiment. The year is 1995, and you've just been elected mayor of Bogota, Colombia. What would you do in this most troubled city in the Americas at the time, and maybe in the world? Economic stimulation won't work in that chaos because new investments end up in the pockets of drug dealers. And more armed police won't work either, because the police are also in the pockets of the drug dealers, and more guns means more violence. Let's face it, conventional remedies are useless. But Bogota's brilliant new mayor, Antanas Mockus, tackled the apparently intractable condition by asking, what would an artist do? First, Mockus replaced corrupt traffic cops with pantomime artists. They shamed jaywalkers and turned crosswalks into props for having fun. The city of La Paz, Bolivia, got the point, and the government made this version of the zebra crossing. And without knowing either La Paz or Bogota, El Paso's artist councilman Peter Schwarzbein turned transportation crossings into a platform for peace through art. Let's make the border safe again with the El Paso transnational trolley. They said it couldn't be done, that this was a daft idea. He couldn't revive trolleys that had been dead for almost 100 years. But look what happened. The trolleys were revived, and so were the hotels, commerce, tourism, and pride of place. Mayor Mockus won the hearts and minds of citizens. He inspired artists to offer ideas because art ignites more art. That's what makes it different from entertainment. One Bogota painter offered to commemorate traffic deaths with fleeting black and yellow stars painted on the streets, one on top of the other, and people had more caution when they crossed the streets. You probably know how paint renewed Tirana, Albania, turning ugly apartment buildings into beautiful paintings, making Tirana go forward, and making the painter mayor into who is currently the prime minister of the country. Another Bogotano who worked with Mockus designed these cards that everyday citizens carried with them to signal approval and disapproval for passers-by, for other drivers in cars, so that mutual regulation made the police redundant. And another costume designer made Super Civico for Mockus. He dressed like this to go to work all week until one citizen said to him, "We got the joke, Mr. Mayor, now put on something a little more decent." But look at what the results of his administration achieved. A reduction in homicide rates by almost 70%. Look how drastically different Bogota is from the rest of the country, the red line as opposed to the gray. And with a threefold multiplication of tax income, that's 300%, real infrastructure improvements were possible. Roads, schools, transportation. Mockus is a mayor who turned his cabinet into an artist collective. Now here's a wake-up call. Jose Molinas was Paraguay's Minister of Planning for Economic and Social Development from 2013 to 2018. He led successful innovations and benefited from years of experience at the World Bank. But when Molinas discovered what art does to spark social development and economic growth, he repented not having taken obvious leads from artists he knows and admires. Our certificate program is inspired by his discovery. It will soon launch in Asunción, Paraguay, under his leadership, and in Mannheim, Germany, under the leadership of Rainer Kern, who's also the director of UNESCO Cities of Music. Molinas knows Coqui Ruiz, for example. Ruiz is on the left hand of this slide, and he created a monumental altar for Pope Francisco's visit to Paraguay in 2015. The altar, made of corn and other local produce, was constructed in sections by dozens of rural artisans, like the ones working here with Coqui, and shipped to the capital in 10 trucks. Look at this altar. The multitudes who participated in the Pope's Mass had prepared in performances called processions. These peaceful and time-consuming events required coordination of transport, health services, vendors, schools, churches, security, media, everyone. A counterintuitive value of participatory art is that it takes a lot of time. Modern life often prefers efficiency and quick results, but laborious crafting, rehearsals, and trials keep people engaged in nonviolent, pro-social behavior. There's less time for drugs, crime, and teenage pregnancy. Paraguay is also proud of Luis Saran, music maestro who establishes youth orchestras in the tradition of Venezuela's El Sistema. Learn about El Sistema from a Harvard Business School case that we'll cover in the certificate program. Now, Saran's young musicians added sustainable development to their inspirations, starting with the conservation of water. Distressed by the contamination of Paraguay's rivers, they dredged water to remove garbage, which they turn into musical instruments for the H2O orchestra. Fired up by his students and now working inside city government in Asunción with youth development, Saran engaged a local engineer to produce this miraculous combination of art and science for sustainable.
In the heart of South America is Paraguay, a country whose treasure travels the world, turning it into one of the largest freshwater reserves on the planet. H2O Sounds of Water is the Sounds of the Earth orchestra that makes music with sustainable materials, which creates awareness on preserving our waters, bringing to communities across the country a symphony of education and respect for nature. A project strongly committed to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 6, to guarantee water availability, its sustainable management, and sanitation for all. To reinforce this, Orchestra H2O Sounds of Water and Sounds of the Earth created an instrument that works with water from the most powerful waterways in our country. We present the water harp. A musical call that gives voice to water so that the world can listen carefully and take action on its care and conservation.
The opportunity here to combine arts and policy to develop youth and to sustain life on Earth amounts to an obligation for all of us. The certificate program uses cases of imaginative solutions for apparently intractable problems and generates new interventions along with you for your city's challenges and resources. The course opens your policy toolkit to the fresh air of art. Policymakers generally think of art and culture as shared and stable. They can quip that culture eats strategy for breakfast, but humanists and artists know that art makes the breakfast and serves it up generously for everyone. Art does things, and city governments can develop low-cost, high-impact projects that improve the environment, public safety, education, public health, everything, with the articulation of what may be siloed services in a city. What better way to launch development than through launching participatory arts with us? Thank you so much.